Welcome back to another pen talk. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to take a look at a vintage pen that I was not aware of its existence until I saw an auction on eBay, and there were certain aspects of the auction that really caught my attention. As you can see from the clip, it's a Parker. It's a Parker that was only made in the UK. And as we scroll around the barrel, hopefully we can find the engravings. So it's a Parker Victory. It's made in England. This just has a small single band at the bottom of the cap, which is one of the indicators of what model Victory this is. The Victory pen was made from the 40s through the 60s. This was the last one, the Mark V. The classic arrow clip, nice fine fins, feathers, whatever you want to call it, at the top of the clip. Also, the jewel is the same material as the barrel, same color at least. And those of you familiar with Parker, this is a design that they started, I think this evolved from the dual folds, where it was a large cap and it unscrews, and that allows you to replace the clip or fix the clip if needed. I think the color's nice. It's a burgundy color. They came in a couple different other colors, the classics, blues, grays, black, that type of thing. But what really attracted me to the auction was the nib. Those of you that know me should understand that the nib is what I focus on. So there was some nice close-ups of the nib, and when I saw it I said, that looks great. This is the classic engraving of the nibs of this era of pens. Just a standard feed on the back, but that's a really nice tipping on there. I would call it a broad, but I would also call it almost like a stub. There might be a slight angle there, so it may have some metallic characteristics to it. But when we see the writing, we'll see also what really attracts it to my attention. It's a small pen, but that was typical of pens of this era. And I'll show an example of what other pens were available at this time. I would call this a 50s pen, a classic 50s pen. The section is a little bit on the small side, but you can hold it anywhere. You feel the threads, but they're not sharp, so that's not going to interfere. And this posts deeply securely, and it's a light pen, so it doesn't change the balance at all, and it feels nice in the hand posted. So this is definitely a pen that would appeal to those that enjoy a posted pen. So here's a look at the eBay auction, and I did buy two pens from the same supplier. The auctions were close together, and they did combine shipping, which was really nice. So shipping from the UK to the US can be expensive, $10 to $20 depending upon the seller. So when you can combine items, that certainly lowers the price and brings it down to what a domestic inter-country shipping cost could be, which is generally between like $5 and $7. So hopefully you enjoy this little twirl by of a pen that is understated and underutilized, and there's only been one other review on YouTube about this pen. It was almost this identical pen with just a slightly different nib on it. So I'll put a link in my view, because I think it's good to support the other YouTube publishers that focus on fountain pens, and we can see their view of this pen. When I received the Parker pen that I won an eBay auction, the first thing I noticed was the nib was slightly distorted. So I used my trusty acrylic block. It's not perfect, but it's going to work well. Probably need to work a little bit on those tines to be aligned, but I just love that tipping material there. That's a nice broad nib. So I wanted to ink it up with my new Robert Oster ink. So that's how it looks. And just wanted to, this is the feed section. So this is a classic Parker feed that has an aerometric filler. So this tube allows you to expel the air and fill it fuller. So then the air pushes out here. You can see that like in Vacuumatics or in the review that I did on the Edison Menlo pump filler. So the ink flows down those two channels. You know, we have some fins here, but they don't really do anything. They don't touch the channel. So I thoroughly cleaned this, spent a day in water, a little bit of ammonia, a lot of bulb flushing. So I wanted to show you that before I assembled it and inked it up. You know, this is as received. I'll probably do a light polish on it, but it was in good condition. I really like the red color. I mean, it's a nice, clean red color. And the pen was in excellent condition, other than that slight damage to the nib, but that was easy for me to correct. So from a restoration viewpoint, one of the best investments I made was this acrylic block from Pendemonium. So what's nice is you can put the nib anywhere along this and get the right angle, so you can form the nib as you would like. And you know, you can do both this way, and you can do the inverse side on this side of it, and it just gives you a nice stable platform. The nib wasn't that much bent out of shape, but it required just a little bit of touches to it. And you know, the tines are easy to align. You know, they're now fully aligned. Hopefully that shows in the video. But that's part of vintage, you know, part of buying on eBay, part of looking for deals is occasionally you're going to find something that's going to require a little bit of effort, hopefully not a lot, to put it in perfect working order. So we're going to ink this up, put it together, ink it up, and see how it writes. I thought we'd take a closer look at the nib, and there's an interesting designation at the bottom of the nib. RU7 with dots underneath of each letter. Some of these nibs had a date coding on it, but that's not something I've ever seen. Maybe that's a location it was made. Who knows? Let's see if we can find out. Anybody has any information, please let me know. Steph, if you're watching, I'm certain you might be able to help. Thanks. Bye. So in the 50s, what other pens were popular? So you might recognize the Pelikan 400N in tortoise. I've not done a review on this pen. I have a complete set with the ballpoint and pencil, so that should be an upcoming video. Then of course you have your ubiquitous Parker 51, which predates the Victory, or probably about the same time, but you know, American and UK design and manufacture. Then you have a Parker 45, and this was the other pen that I bought from the same eBay seller, which allowed me to get a nice discount on shipping, combined shipping costs. Here's your J Series Eversharp, and you may recognize the Conway Stuart 85L that I did a video review on, which also has an excellent nib. So all of these are about the same size. There's no real oversized pens in this lot, and I'd say this represents a nice example of the, I would say, quality, well-known fountain pens that were available in the 50s. The same pens that are posted, and when you post them, the overall length varies considerably, with the 51 being the shortest overall posted, then the 45. Then the other four are pretty good, the Pelikan being the fourth in this series. So they post to a decent length for those that like a longer pen, and all of them post well and securely. In this lot, the nibs really run the gambit, with I think the Parker Victory being kind of in the middle of this range, but very similar to the Conway Stuart, which obviously those competed in the UK marketplace. The 400N definitely has a nice large nib on it, and this nib, and these nibs are very flexible, so that's also nice and not typical. We have a nice small oblique relief nib on the Esterbrook. And the 45 also is a broad and has a decent amount of tipping material on it. And the 51 is your typical fine 51 nib. There are varieties of nibs on the 51s, but I think they're hard to find, at least from my experiences. And because they're rare and it's a popular pen, can become quite pricey. Writing test. And as you know, this pen, obviously interesting from a number of different historical perspectives, but the nib is what really caught my interest and encouraged me to try to buy it in an auction. And, you know, pairing the ink color with the ink, I thought this was an excellent color to put in this pen. As I mentioned, it's a fairly light pen. It posts nice and long, fits well in the hand. You can also use it unposted, and I think I'll do that unposted. Beautiful nib. I like the way it opens up. I like the way it lays down in nice wet ink. Very consistent. And even with all that wet ink, with this Robert Oster, it seems to dry pretty quickly. So I just enjoy this. I could write with this for days. You don't get as much variation in the flex, but it certainly feels nice in the hand. So it's one of the beautifuls about, you know, experimenting on eBay and finding something like this, which I didn't know existed, and putting it into working order and just enjoying it from a writing perspective. There'll be a lot of letters written with this pen. I mean, that's just a beautiful nib. And hopefully you notice there's almost no sound, and this is Fabriano paper, which has a little bit of texture to it. I mean, that's beautiful. So if you've enjoyed this look at a almost vintage pen from the 50s, I think is the borderline in my view. I know that's almost 70 years ago, but you know, there's a discussion as to what's vintage, what's antique, and what's modern, you know, and maybe we need a post-vintage or pre-modern designation. So let me know what you think. So thank you for watching. May you have many great writing experiences, explore the great variety that these writing instruments provide us, and enjoy them and enjoy life. Till later, bye.